Ever feel like everything is a priority these days? The kids need you, your boss needs you, the laundry's piling up. Where do you even start with it all? In today's episode, we're breaking down how to stop spinning your wheels and really start making real progress.
Hey, I'm Brianne McKenzie. I'm a mom of 4 little kids, teacher of students with special needs, and a health and productivity buff. And this is the Get Shit Done podcast, where I help busy moms learn to get shit done in their lives through everyday, tangible productivity tips and tricks that'll be sure to help you get shit done. Whether you're a busy working mom inside or outside the home, I'll share my how-tos and my step-by-step strategies you need to prioritize what's important in your life and create the energy you need to follow through. Now, grab your earbuds and join me for a mom chat while you're doing the dishes, folding the laundry, or exercising with your kids. And let's get shit done together.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Get Shit Done podcast. We are so excited for the spring around here. I'm sitting in my car right now, as I usually do when I'm recording these episodes. I just finished a walk with a girlfriend and I'm looking out to blue sky and no snow anywhere. I hope this isn't like, what do they call it, like Fool's Spring, where it's like a false sense of spring, but we're coming close to the end of March here, so I'm hopeful that we're just heading in the right direction a little bit early. We have solar panels on our house, and so we've been like making tons of solar already, which is so nice. And I was saying earlier in my stories this week that like the sun is a drug for me. Over the winter, it's really hard for me to like feel it's not hard for me to feel happy. I was literally going to say that, but I have to work and really make sure that I have a lot of my like habits in place so that I feel my best self. I use my morning sunlight. I take my vitamins. I move my body. I drink lots of water. I try to like go with the rhythm of the sun and all that stuff. But like it's nothing compared to actual real sun in your face. So I am here for this false sense of spring, if that's what it is. So today's episode, we're learning how to prioritize things when everything feels urgent. And what we're going to learn about this episode is the difference between urgent and important, because there really is a distinction there. A simple way to refocus when you feel scattered, because our brains can literally take us in a different direction and make us feel like there's things that need to get done when really they can be put to the side. And how to build back a plan or routine when things go sideways, because it's inevitably going to happen. So let's just plan for that. So I'm going to get started with our first little chat here. What's urgent versus important? How to tell the difference. Urgent is something that's always screaming for your attention, but it's not always necessary. And important is something that actually moves you forward. So like, you know, when you look in your house and you're seeing that thing all the time, it's like, I don't know, it's the laundry, I guess, or whatever it is, the thing that's always going to be there that's bugging you. That is really taking your attention, but like what is actually important to move forward that day? Maybe it is taking some of that dirty laundry and putting it in the washer, but maybe it's not getting it all put away. And that's hard for us to settle with, I feel like sometimes. So what we're going to do is we're going to really just stop and look at it and think about like, is this thing going to help me move forward in my day? And that is going to really help us to decide what's urgent versus important. And that's really what we do when we do our top 3 priorities. It allows us, when we're not in a chaotic and like overwhelmed state, because it's really hard for our brain to decipher that what's urgent versus important when we're in an overwhelmed state. So when you're doing your top 3 priorities, when you're not in the mix of all that, that's what you're going to decide and look at. And really that can help to guide you during that time of uncertainty and chaos, what you had picked earlier. But if we're looking at things and we're overwhelmed and we're seeing all the laundry and all the dishes and all the things, look at it and say, is this urgent or important? And that's going to help to dictate what needs to get done first. Okay, So the pause and pick up method to regain focus. So this is kind of like a little bit of a helper to help us move forward and get ourselves back on track. Step 1, I want you to pause and take a deep breath because I'm doing it here. Taking a deep breath really does just help us to like get out of that fight or flight and freeze kind of situation our brain gets in when we're overwhelmed. And I mean, I do this all the time, and I think it's maybe because I teach this all day, every day, but like taking deep breaths is such an underrated form of like getting our shit together. Like that is how we start. We have to regulate ourselves to be able to do anything else. So that pause and take a deep breath is going to be the first step. And I think that's really important to talk about because this is how we train our body to do these things. If we're calming ourselves down and we're saying this is important, it's not going to overwhelm us. We're teaching ourselves in our brain. That's going to help us in the long run. So step 1 is to take a deep breath. Step 2 is to pick one thing that makes the biggest difference today. And that could be in those top 3 priorities we've already thought about, or if you're doing it in the moment, thinking about what is going to help me when I put my head on my pillow tonight to make me feel accomplished or to know that this needed to happen today. Sometimes we know exactly what that is because it has to happen today and there's no other time. Or other times there's so much and you don't know what it is. And that's when you go back to that urgent versus important and you do your top 3 priorities. So you pick that one thing that's going to make the biggest difference. And then you're going to take action on that one thing before anything else. Because if you get the hard thing out of the way, you're going to feel that rush of, that's like a micro action. It's going to help that build that momentum to push that boulder up the hill. So when you start taking those baby steps and taking action with the hard thing first, the rest is going to feel easy, I promise. So you're going to take action on that one thing that was the priority before you do anything else, because it's easy to get sidetracked and feel like other things are important when the coats are on the floor and the shoes need to be put away and the dishes have to go to the dishwasher and the dishwasher has to be started. Just focus on putting that laundry in if that was the thing you decided. Because it's real easy for us to do 700 things and get nothing done. So number 3, what to do when things go off the rails. Okay, so busy working moms, there's always going to be stuff that sends us off of our plan, which is life. And if we 100% know this will happen, we need to plan for it, and then we won't be so it won't feel so chaotic or overwhelming when it does happen because we've planned for it. We know what to do. So having a quick backup plan or routine is a really great way to do this. It's like a quick reset strategy. And what I do is I put a timer on for however long I have. I look around, I say, what are the top 3 things I'm going to get done in this amount of time? I throw on some, quick music and I get going. A quick reset of strategies or reset of things in your house can really help when things are don't go as planned. Use the minimum viable day mindset. So what that is what's the least amount of things you need to do today, rather than what's the most productive thing or what's the thing I can get done today. Think about like at the end of the day, what's the bare minimum we need to do? We need to eat, and my kids need to be able to get to sleep. So what do we have to do today to make that happen? And that's where you start from. This is kind of like when your day doesn't go as planned or when you're in survival mode. How many of us are stuck in the thickness of our kids being sick and we're living day to day? We're living in this survival mode. Like these are the strategies you need to have in place for that, because this is all we are going to get accomplished today. Giving our kids medicine, giving our kids food, and like making sure that they have like what they need. You know what I mean? Those are the things you're thinking about when our kids are really sick. So this is kind of a similar mindset. The minimum viable day, like what is the minimum amount of things we need to have done today? And that's kind of the mindset we use, or the lens we look at our day through, or like the perspective we take. And then I want you to give yourself some grace. Some days are not meant to be productive, like they're just not. And some days if you've been on a streak and you've had a couple of productive days and you need a couple of non-productive days, or you get sick kids and then everything goes out the window and the day is not going to be productive. We just have to be okay and learn to teach ourselves to be okay with those days. Things don't have to happen on full force every day, and they're not going to be. So we just have to be understanding that this is a day that's not going to be productive. But guess what? In 5 days, when we're done this sickness, I know what I need to do to get my shit together because I have these plans and these systems in place. So that actually gives a little bit of like freedom and liberation to ourselves when we know that there are ways to come back from things. And then we don't have to feel so hard on ourselves and like look up a plan and figure out what to do. Like we already have these things in place, and it's about getting back into these routines. And I literally just had this conversation with my friend on our walk. We were talking about how like we were all on March break and, you know, school's coming up. Our kids been sleeping or going to bed late and sleeping in and, you know, eating a lot more junk and just like, you know what it's like when you're on vacation. And one of the things that we talked about was that like, you know, it's okay that this was the break and routine that we needed at this point in the spring. But it's also important for us to teach our kids that we can baby step back into these routines so it's not as hard come Monday when we have to go back to school. So it might start with making your bed, or it might start with like, you know, picking up after yourself or whatever that is, but having that conversation about we know how to come back to the things that help us to feel good once we've had a break from them is a huge lesson to teach our kids. And we can actually do it together as a family this weekend before we head back to school. So we were literally having that conversation. So it kind of goes along with this topic. But, you know, everything can feel urgent when there's so much to do, but take these steps and really just, I think one of the biggest ones was like, what's urgent versus important? Because that is really like where to start, because it all feels like a lot when it's visually in your face. So if you're struggling to sort out what's urgent versus important, subscribe to this podcast and subscribe to the Moms Get Shit Done Club, because that's where we're working on this stuff together. And I'll send you my checklist, and that will help get you rolling. And there's lots of other podcasts to listen to. I have a training coming out next week on this, and we're going to be diving into it together to help. So check it out. I hope you have a lovely week and that you're feeling the spring where you're at as well. Take care.
Well, that's it for me today. I'm likely needed for some mom duties right about now. Thanks so much for joining me for a chat, and let's do it again soon. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at Brianne_McKenzie123 for more tips and tricks on how to get shit done.